The digital clock on the wall read 7 p.m. Monday, 30th November. It has been 3 days and we have not spoken to or seen each other, she said to herself, sipping the hot ginger tea. It was her 25th birthday on Friday last week. He had travelled all the way from Jaipur to see her almost after 1 year. He was actually planning this event since last week. All the preparations, right from arranging her favorite apple cake to informing her friends to keep it a secret, were complete. He had borrowed the keys of her flat from the landlord who had rented the apartment to her. The landlord had sniffed while sharing the keys. He felt like hitting the landlord in the face, but today was not the day. He had previously argued with her twice, asking her to stay in a good house, even if it meant shelling out some more money. But she was of a different opinion, and service apartments came cheap in Bangalore. He did not want to spoil the mood by getting into a brawl with the landlord. Definitely not today. He fondly called her Finny, nicknamed after a special Rajasthani sweet made from saffron, cardamom, all-purpose flour, sugar and pure ghee. He loved her so much that he wanted to make it very special for her. And special it was going to be. A perfect Friday evening birthday bash followed by a weekend rail to the lush green Kanakapura forests and an overnight camp. She had always been a sports lover and an avid trekker, but she so much hated traveling. That's why he had selected Kanakapura, since it was just around 55 kilometers from the city. He knew she would definitely love all this. Just when all the arrangements were ready, he sat on the chair in the living room, tired from the whole euphoria. The clock on the wall read 6 p.m. He saw out of the window and the sun was dazzling yellowish, ready to set for the day. He closed his eyes, thinking how happy she would be. It would have been hardly 3 minutes that the doorbell rang. He woke up alarmed and thought to himself, shit, who is it now? The party invitation to her friends was 7 in the evening. Was it her? No, God, it would spoil all the fun. With a thumping heart, he opened the door, and there she was, standing in front of him, equally surprised. What are you doing here? She said. He tried to cover up. Honey, I came to see you. How are you, sweetie? She pushed him back and entered the apartment. She had only taken 2 steps inside the living room and was stopped in her tracks by all the balloons in the hallway. There were unlit candles all over the place. The room smelled fresh jasmine just like she loved. And then there was this boxed apple cake right at the center of the table. The classy Vieux Clicquot Ponsardin Brush champagne stood firm on the sideboard. She was bedazzled by all this. She looked at him with a smile and said, "Thank you." He took out the 2 tickets for Kanakapura camping and showed it to her. She jumped out of excitement, but as soon as she was going to hug him, something stopped her raising arms. It was a third voice coming from outside the apartment. Suddenly she realized she had almost forgotten about the guest who was kept waiting at the door. She ran out, caught hold of the hand of the unknown figure, brought her in and introduced with a childlike innocence. "I wanted to talk to you about this. Good that you came here instead. Things can be clearly spoken out now." She cleared her throat and said, "This is Anagha, my colleague. She will be moving into the apartment to live with me. We are planning to get in a living relationship." He almost felt like throwing up the food he had just eaten. With a shock running through his toenail right up to the last strand of hair on his head, he fumbled for words. There was a moment of silence. In a flurry of emotions, he picked up his bag, gave a disgusted look to both of them, and began to leave. She tried to stop him, but he walked away, leaving her and her newfound love alone in the middle of that decorated room. On the way downstairs, he bumped into the landlord, who was standing below the spandrel at the end of the stairs, holding the same last expression. This time he was determined to overpower the landlord's expressions, but he just went past under the spandrel, wondering if these expressions were a repercussion of his tenant's latest behavioral changes. He boarded a cab and headed straight to the airport. He had to get on a long journey back home. In the room, she stood still, with a mixture of emotions running through her mind. Once, she felt guilty of opposing the orthodox social value system. Once she felt like a free bird, being able to openly express her liking to same sex. Once she felt having betrayed her unconditional love, and once she felt she had eluded the emotional turmoil with him by disclosing it abruptly. Anagha, who was watching this 2 minute drama holding a luggage bag in one hand, finally unloaded the bag on the sofa and counseled her as a responsible partner. She felt good, thinking about how happy she would be with Anaga. She made him a call which went unanswered, so she texted him on Messenger, but there was no reply. She turned her attention to unbox the apple cake and poured the Vivu liquor in 2 glasses. The sun was already going down. She sipped the champagne, trying to clean all the thoughts from her mind. I am not betraying anyone. Hope he understands as he is my friend first. And I can't stop my feelings for Anaga either. Things will get back to normal, she said to herself. I am 25 now, damn it. He was so engrossed in the thoughts that he almost forgot his luggage at the check-in counter. The flight back home felt like eternity. How could she do this to me? He said to himself with blood pumping through his heart vigorously at the height of 30,000 feet above the ground. After so many years of loving, this is what I get in return. They had known each other for 2 decades now. He knew more than anyone how free-willed, stubborn and unpredictable she was. But her liking towards a female had left him spellbound. The pilot announced, "The temperature outside is minus 55 degrees. It did no good to the temperature of his blood, which was already boiling inside. There will be a slight delay in the scheduled arrival at Jaipur due to the bad weather," said the pilot. He thought to himself, with her gone, the weather had already turned hazy in his life. For a moment he thought only if this flight had a terrorist on board who would take him for a hostage, or if the plane crashed somewhere, he would happily end his life. But that was not to be. She loves a girl? Wow, is that even natural? I don't know. I bloody don't know, he thought. He knew she was the new century girl. She had fought everyone she knew in her orthodox family, and relatives came to Bangalore hoping to make a successful career into IT and be independent. But the city must have got on her nerves somehow, he murmured. Just been 1 year away and this is what the city turns her into. Yes, she had orthodox relatives, but his was a fresh outlook and he appreciated her modernized ways. She was free to take her decisions, and that's why he had supported her when she decided to move to Bangalore from Jaipur, even when he was initially annoyed with her. He had stopped calling her Finny since that day though, but today's conversation was beyond his worst nightmare. I swear to God, if she would have told me that she has found a new boyfriend, I would have still stayed calm, he said to himself. But this was too much. He felt like his love was taken for a ride. Or was there any love at all in the first place? He began doubting everything, even the pilot's credentials, when the co-pilot announced that he had an experience of 15,000 flying hours. Outside the plane window, night had begun to set in. There was a lingering moonlight in the sky. Slowly his eyes started to close and the brain started to drift in the past memories. He clearly remembered the look on her face when they had met each other 20 years ago. She was 5 then, with the cute innocence of a lost puppy. It was absolutely love at first sight. They had almost grown together. Every time she felt low, he found new ways of pampering her. Be it the new school kids' parties, celebrating puberty in teenage, handling the bullying in college, or her deciding to move to Bangalore for a job. He was there to hold her hand. Their friendship had grown over the years and stood the test of time. Drenched in thoughts, he slipped into deep sleep and was only awakened to the pilot's announcement of plane landing at Jaipur. While leaving the airport, he decided not to talk to her again, though they had had such emotional outbursts in the past too, which eventually ended in quick patch-ups, but this time he was firm. Sitting in the cab, he slipped his hand in the pocket of his trousers and pulled out the 2 camping tickets for Kanakapura. For a long time, he just stared at the tickets, which seemed to be blurred now due to the moisture built in his eyes. He didn't know what to do with them. He gestured the driver and the cab drove off in the darkness of the night. She spent the weekend with Anagha, making the changes in the apartment and roaming around the city, shopping for the household items. Anagha had temporarily made her forget him, but it was Monday today. Yes, that day of the week which sucked up everybody's energy. She had a bad start for the day, missing the pickups and reaching late for the early morning conferences. Then the grueling day got onto her. By the time it was late afternoon, she began missing him. Though they had fought in the past, it never took them so long to patch up, usually him making the first move. It then struck her that he had not even bothered to call her this time And that feeling of negligence coupled with the ruthless workday made her feel weak in her knees. She immediately texted him again. Can we talk? But there was still no reply. Today, for the second time in her life, she felt alone. First time was when she had lost her mother 15 years ago. She came back home late from office and made a strong ginger tea to freshen up. But his thoughts blurred her mind. Though they had been in touch on phone and messenger, they had not seen each other for 1 year. And when he showed up to surprise her on her 25th birthday, she surprised him back with her new companion. How guilty she felt right now. She knew her act must have made him go mad, but she believed even if the whole world turned back against her, he would still be standing by her side. Hence, she had spontaneously spoken about Anagha when she saw him on Friday. Suddenly, she came back to her present senses by the sound of the digital clock on the wall which read 8 p.m. Monday, 30th November. He is the only one who understands me, she murmured to herself. But now she had begun to panic. There was no communication with him since last 3 days. It felt like eternity. This had never happened. She continuously checked her phone, but there was no reply from him. In despair, she sat down in the chair, thinking this was the end of their relationship. The man she loved so much was suddenly ignoring her. Just when this thought crossed her mind, the phone beeped. There was a message, yes, from him. But when she opened it and read it, she nearly stopped breathing. She didn't know if he was joking or not. What was this? He had typed, I still love you, Finny, and sent her a picture of tickets for the Kanakapura camping. She typed, I miss you, with a sad emoticon. Then he typed, saw you after 1 whole year and you did not even hug me. Your decision made me furious last Friday, but I love you more than anything in this world, and you know that. Need to talk to you both. These are 3 tickets for Kanakapura camping. Got them postponed. Pack your bags. We are leaving tomorrow. You, me, and Anagha. Love you. With tears running down her cheeks, she typed, I love you too. And you know what? You are the best dad in the world. Thanks for understanding me yet again. And then they both logged out. She felt so relaxed that she began packing immediately. Her father had once again stood beside her bold decision. He felt content to have again kept the promise he made to her mother when she passed away 15 years ago. Looking at her picture, he murmured to himself, times are changing now, and I need to keep up with the pace. I shall always love our daughter, respect her feelings and decisions. Don't worry, I shall never let her lose track of the righteousness. She is not only a child, but our responsibility too. He then locked everything up along with the adoption documents. Yes, 20 years old adoption documents which he would never want his daughter to see, at least not till he was alive. He rested on the couch, remembering the look on his daughter's face when they had met each other 20 years ago. She was 5 then, with the cute innocence of a lost puppy. Yes, it was absolutely love at first sight.